Sharing your screen,
Yeah,
right?
I'll just share my deck out. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Yes, Vinay.
Yes, we can.
Great. Okay. So I'll try and get through this as quickly as possible because I'm sure that most of the people are waiting for the exciting part of or the fun aspects of today's event. But in the short time that I have, I'll try and do as much justice as possible to the kind of stuff we are using engagement systems at Zenoti to do. So this is briefly the coverage that I will be going through today. Uh, to start off with, I'd like to introduce Zenoti. It's basically a SaaS solution for management of salons and spas. And of course, when we stand on the outside, it might look like, okay, at max, you need to make a couple of appointments and you need to schedule a few sessions. But Zenoti is a much larger software. We have modules that go into inventory, memberships, analytics, accounts, employee management. So it's quite a complex bit of software. And as with any complex software, the user documentation that goes along with it needs to be strong to enable customers to be to use that solution effectively. And while we do have help articles, we have a ton of help articles. We've also been looking at other solutions that will help give our customers a better experience when they use Zenoti. So engagement solutions is one. We also handle the chatbots. So when a query comes into support, the first interaction they have is with the chatbot that is created by us. And we also do Zenoti University to help people learn and get certified on our software. But of course, the key aspect of what I will be talking about today is the engagement system. And to understand where we are, we also need to kind of look at where we came from, right? So the Antikythera mechanism, this is actually the oldest technical document people have found. This is a 2,000-year-old Greek computer, and it actually comes with instructions on how it should be used. So those instructions are the first technical documentation that we have from history. But then, things have changed. So we've had printed manuals. I still remember, the first time I got my DOS system, uh, the entire operating system was in one 3.5 floppy. But the user documentation was maybe about 10 or 20 times that size. That's how thick the manual was. So we went from there, and then we basically moved those manuals onto DVDs. So your software would come instead of with a manual, it would have a DVD. And then we moved to online documentation. But during this whole period, right, everybody always looked at documentation as a cost center. But over the last few years, with the growth of the internet and with SaaS companies coming online, people have begun looking at user documentation as a business asset. It is expected to bring in business. Very recently, we were deciding on what software to use for a particular aspect of the project, and I know that one of the areas that I looked at when I was deciding which software we should use was to see how much documentation there was around it. And I don't mean just how much documentation there was around it on the product's website, right? I went into YouTube, I went into Reddit, I went into other communities to see are people posting solutions to problems that they are facing on this software. So the more content there is, the more mature a product feels. And it's not just in terms of how many documents you have, right? It also has to do with how many different ways you are presenting that content, how many different ways you are helping people figure out solutions to their problems. And in that, what would you say? In that attempt to give different solutions, okay, engagement systems are a, a rapidly growing method of providing in-app help, right? So we have many systems out there, many solutions out there, Walkme, Gainsight, and Pendo being some of them. And what it allows us to do is, of course, it provides help right within the product. So you don't send the user out into documentation somewhere else. We are also able to customize what a user sees based on maybe their username or their role or which organization they belong to. And of course, many of these systems also help us track user behavior, which then feeds back to the product team and helps improve the product per se. So let's focus now on WalkMe. And the reason I'm focusing on WalkMe is because that's what we use. All right. So WalkMe, we primarily use four of their solutions. One is called Walkthroughs. Pretty self-explanatory, I guess, because what it does is it allows you to create a step-by-step process that guides the user through all the various steps required to complete any activity. Then we have smart tips, which basically behave like tooltips, which is the more industry recognized term. So you can place tooltips over any of the UI elements on your screen and thereby give the user in context and in-app help rather than sending them out to a document somewhere else. Then we have shoutouts, which are basically banners, which you can place and you can decide how people would see that. Do you want them to see it every time they come to that page? Do you want them to see it when they do a particular action, etc.? But it's basically a banner. Okay, and of course, in context help. So I'll be going through examples of 1 second. I'm sorry about that. She just decided that she wants to be part of the meeting. Okay. Uh, so moving on to in context help, uh, we have, if you'll see here, what we do is we tie our documentation to the help widget in WalkMe. Now that is in the first image you see on the left, you see that question mark at the bottom. It's there on both the images. So that's basically the help widget. When the user clicks the help widget, it opens up that window there. And depending on which screen you're on, you will get a different set of documents. So we are able to customize directly over there rather than sending them out to a help center somewhere and then expecting them to do a search, a first level, second level, third level search. Rather, we are able to chunk our information right here and help them find what they are looking for. Moving on, so this is as far as the documentation is concerned, right? And this is again primarily outside the product. So it's on a website somewhere, right? But now let's take a look at what we are doing within the product. Okay, now to basically demo these, I have created some videos, and the only reason I created them as videos is to remove the uncertainty of internet connections and slow websites and things like that. So I've created them as videos. Now, here what we are doing, I'll just set the scenario up. Here what we're doing is this is an invoice. And if you'll notice on the right side here, you've got this person paying the membership amount in 4 installments, right? And when they pay that in 4 installments, you can change that schedule, right? You can remove an installment and adjust the other values, or you can even adjust the values here or adjust the dates. Now, the problem with this whole thing is if you click this X button, it removes that installment. But when you remove that installment, there is no way to put it back for us. And what would normally happen is we would have customers who would remove that installment, okay, update the schedule, and then they come back and say, hey, I'd like to add that installment back and I can't find a way to do that. So what we decided to do is let them know right away as soon as they make that mistake that you shouldn't be doing this because there is no way to go back to it. So I'll just play this video so y'all can see how that happens. So as you can see, basically that alert just comes up, and it comes up only when they click that X button. No other action on this page will bring that alert up. And the advantage, of course, is like everything else that you will see over here, is that we didn't have to go back to the product team or the engineering team. We could do this right on top of the UI without having to go through an entire rebuild or a QA process or anything of that sort. So in effect, basically, we are not able, we don't negatively impact the performance of the website of the application at all. Next, another example of in product help. Now we have a lot of such kind of reports, right? The salons and spas that we cater to, there's a lot of information that they generate, and they like to look at this information to be able to improve their the performance of their business. And I'm sure all of us here who have even written one technical, been part of any technical writing division will know or will remember a time when we've had to create a table full of column headers and their definitions, right? In this case, it could go up to close to 50 or 60 fields sometime, right? And that's extremely unwieldy, and then sending the user out to that page to figure out what that particular column means is not the best user experience. So what we've done here, okay, is we've used the smart tips feature in Walkme to now, I'll just pause here for a second. Okay, now what this does is this, the need help you see here, we've added that using Walkme. And when the user places their mouse over that need help link, we pop up this message which tells them what this report is all about, right? So the definition of this report is right here. Okay, and now moving on, we also link out to the article. And then this is the interesting one, right? So we've put all our field definitions or column definitions right here on the report. Again, you might ask me, why didn't we just do this in the product, right? Now, the drawback with doing this in the product is that every time there's a change, some edit, somebody missed a comma somewhere, or there's an an instead of an a or an a instead of an, you need to go back to the product team. Okay, and the moment they make a change, then there's a whole process in there, right? It needs to go through their testing processes before it can be set live again. And typically, what's going to happen is that mistake is going to stay there for a very long time. And people will keep coming back to us and saying, hey, you need to fix that, and we know that we need to fix it. Okay, it's just that there's no easy way to do it when it's within the product. But when we do it through an engagement system like we are doing it here, it takes us all of about a minute or two to make that change and redeploy that immediately, right? So that's one more area that we are using Walkme to help us. Then we have the process walkthroughs. Now, some of our process walkthroughs are pretty long, but in this case, I've selected a short one. Okay. Now, what a process walkthrough does is it basically takes the user through a set of steps, okay, to be able to complete any action, right? In this case that I'm going to show you here, we had just launched Zenoti University, and people weren't able to find how they could open or access Zenoti University. So what we did was, the first time you logged into our product, you would get this shout out. Okay, it would tell you that you now have access to Zenoti University and blah blah, right? Then we gave you three options. One is it would tell you that you could choose to allow the Walkme to guide you to how to open Zenoti University. You could choose to be reminded later, in which case then the next time you logged in, you would see this again. Okay, or you could say, don't show me this message again. So you don't see this message ever again. Okay, so that's what this does. So I'll just play this video that will then show you how we help the users complete an entire process. So they are selecting the guide me. Now here it tells them where to click. Does the click also. So that is this one that we have created is an auto step. So all the steps are automatically taken by the system. You can also set up Walkme so that you actually get the user to make these steps. So it allows you to do that also. right? So you, again, that is your choice, right? If your aim is that you want the user to make those clicks and actually go through that entire process step by step by doing the actions, you can do that. Or as we did in this case, you can make it an auto step so that the system just completes it for them, and they get a general idea of how to complete that activity. Then this is the take makes things a little bit more interesting. So again, we've come back to the invoice screen. Now, typically, since we are a SaaS company, right, all our customers get the same product, but there will be a little bit of customization depending on one customer to another. Now, a lot of our customers also sell products, they sell services, and of course, they also sell memberships. Okay. Now, this particular customer wanted to have its all membership sales to be on individual invoices. So it didn't want the sales to be on sales to be mixed with any other sales. So membership sales had to have its own invoice, right? So this is something that was not very intuitive. So we were getting a lot of their front desk staff selling both services, products, and the membership on the same invoice, trying to do it, and then they would get an error and they had no clue why they were getting that error, right? Why they were not able to make that sale. So here's what we did, right? Now what we did over here was we make sure, okay, let me just pause here. So what we do is, if there's always an already an item on the invoice, okay, which in this case, let me just step it back a little bit, right? You notice over here, there's already a service that is there on the invoice. Now, the moment there is an item already on the invoice, and if they try to go to the package option over here, we surface an error message telling them that, hey, you can't sell a package uh, uh, along with other items. It's got to be on its own invoice. And the same is true if there was already a package and then they try and sell a product. So straight away, what this does is it stops the front desk from making an error. Okay, and consequently, it also reduces the chances of them reaching out to support. And let me tell you now, in this one case, okay, we have actually brought down the support tickets for this particular error down to zero, right? So there isn't a single support ticket coming in today for this particular error, which used to be a very common support ticket that used to come in. Okay, today we don't get a single support ticket for this error. Okay, and it's pretty simple, right? Just one simple message, and today now all their front desk are trained just by instinct not to try to sell a membership on the same invoice as a product, right? So I've just taking so this is basically the kind of effectiveness we are seeing. I've just taken a sample of a couple of smart walkthroughs that we created. Okay, and you will notice that in both cases, okay, there's close to about 30% goal completion. Now, what I mean by goal completion is in the previous example when we saw that message that came up, okay, that was a goal. So if that message is shown, okay, that was seen as a goal. The second one over here, actually, I don't have the video for this, but this is again a very interesting one. This one that shows that 6,184 goals reached. This was where if somebody wanted to remove a payment that had been collected, okay, the natural instinct would be to go and delete the invoice, but that doesn't actually remove the payment from the system. It deletes the invoice, but doesn't remove the payment from the system. So then they would have a mismatch in their reports. Now, what we did was we put in a walkthrough there. When the moment they came or they tried to delete an invoice, they would be given a message that said, hey, you know what? If you're trying to delete the invoice, yeah, you're doing the right thing. But if you want to remove this payment, okay, this isn't where it's supposed to be done. Here's a link to how you should do it, right? And then what we counted was not the number of times they showed that message, but we counted the number of times they closed that message and then clicked the cancel button on the main page, right? Because clicking the cancel button meant that they were doing the wrong thing, right? And notice over here that out of 19,000 times that this, or close to 20,000 times that this was played, okay, 6,000 times the user went back and clicked the cancel button. Okay, so effectively that's about 6,000 tickets that we've avoided coming into our support team. And for our support team, that's big, right? I mean, which basically means that they can concentrate on more complex stuff rather than concentrating on the straight line scenarios. So these are some of the examples that I had for y'all. And for those of y'all who are wondering, uh, how complex is it to create all this, and are we going to be writing things multiple times? Okay, actually no. Okay, so typically what you would do is you would write the article, right? Articles still are our source of truth, so you would write the article. Okay, and to make the art to surface the article in the right place, you would add the article to Walkme, okay, which is again a very simple process. And at that point you would identify the page on which it should appear. Okay, now you can do this two ways. You can go to the specific page, or you can go to a root page and say from this page onwards, any page that comes under this one, okay, this article should appear in the help widget. And coming to creating the Walkme, after you've written the article, okay, you follow the same steps that you have in the article within Walkme. Okay, the Walkme's got an editor, so you open that editor, you open your app, and then you basically record the steps that you've done. Okay, once you finish recording the steps, okay, you open the Walkme walkthrough in a basic in the editor, and then all you have to do is take the content from the article, okay, and paste it in the help bubbles so that you're not rewriting the whole thing. So your help article, I'm assuming, is by that point of time already copy edited, and it has also been peer reviewed and technical reviewed. So just taking that content and moving it over means that as long as the walkthrough is working properly, okay, you really don't have to get the content reviewed or copy edited again, right? So that's the basic process to get your walkthrough done. Okay. Um, what else do we do with Walkme? Okay, so this is the user guidance part. Okay, but we also at Zenoti use Walkme for for multiple other uses. One is of course to highlight new releases, right? So highlight new features in releases. Okay, so in this case you will see in the image that we have a version 2 of our reports, right? So we put in a Walkme there, and anybody who clicks it, okay, they get a shout out or they get a pop-up that tells them, okay, these are the advantages of moving to your reports, to the new reports, right? So that's the benefit it gives us, and or any new feature, right? You can highlight it this way. What we also do is if there are new options we have added to a page, right? What we put in a nice little symbol next to it, telling informing the users that it's new, and then when the users bring their mouse over that symbol, they get a description of what that option is, and how it will help them, or and it will of course also take them out to a help document which will give them more details. We also announce webinars. So our customer success team does a lot of webinars and other events. So we announce those. And again, this can be very targeted. So if we have users who are using a specific feature, or they are not using a specific feature yet, and we want to encourage them to attend the webinar so that we hope that they will use that feature, we create a shout out and we target it to that specific set of users. Okay, and we then take it further. We integrate Walkme with a Zapier, and through Zapier, we can either within the internal teams or within Slack, we can create a channel where and all the stakeholders get a message saying that this particular user or this particular organization has shown interest in this webinar. You need to reach out to them and maybe get them registered. Right, so you get that message, or we can take them out to the registration page itself. Similarly, let's say there's a particular feature and we want them to sign up for that feature, right? So again, we give them an announcement and then we give them an action button there. If they click that action button, we can, through Zapier again, create a Salesforce ticket directly. Okay, and that goes to the team that is in charge of enabling that feature for customers, and they will just follow up on that. So there's a lot you can do with such kind of engagement systems, especially when you mix them up with things like Zapier and then connect out to other systems. There's a ton of stuff. Really, it's basically your imagination and where you want to take it. The sky is the limit over there. So that's all I had in terms of what we are doing with Walkme. And if people have questions, I'd be very happy to take them now.
Right. So,
Yes, Vinay.
hello.
Yes, I
Am
am
I
listening.
We can
audible?
already see some questions in
Questions.
the chat. Uh, so
Okay,
one,
but
yeah, one of them is, does this overlap with UX writing?
I mean, yes, it does. But the thing is, we are not changing the UX per se. Okay, the UI elements stay what they are. Okay, but then it does add to the fact that if there is something that isn't very clear, okay, we can explain it further using this. So it will not go and change anything within the product per se. This is something that we overlay over the UI. I hope that answered the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next question. The next question is how much amount of developer efforts are to be done by the writer?
It's not very difficult. I mean, for most of the Walkme, you will find that they're pretty straightforward. Uh, you would spend as much time creating a Walkme as you would in doing the steps before you create a help article, right? Before you write the article, you would go and you would test out each of those steps. Right, you would go through the entire process, and a Walkme doesn't require you to do anything more than that. When you're recording the Walkme, all you do is you open up the Walkme editor. Then within the app, you start recording, and then within the app, you go through all those steps. Okay. Once you've completed the steps, you stop recording. Then, of course, you've got to go and put in the text. And when you are putting in the text, you're basically taking the text that you've already written for the help article. So it's not as time consuming as it may look. And Finally, yes, there are complex things that you can do. No two ways about it. And those will take time, but they are more outliers than the norm. More often than not, the simple stuff, almost any writer should be able to pick it up.
Okay. Uh, Hope that answers the question. Uh, then next we have is what about language requirements like jQuery and JSON?
So when you're doing really some of the complex stuff, like there have been issues where, or there have been times when we've had to have a Walkme show up. Uh, uh, in a particular circumstance, but to make it appear, there was no UI element to which we could tie it, right? Let me give you an example over here. Let's say uh, uh, you want to delete an employee, right? Or you'd want to delete an invoice, but you have given that permission only to some roles, right? Now, that delete button might appear for everybody, but only the people who have permission can actually do the delete, right? So if we were going to tie it to the UI element, the delete button UI element, okay, it wouldn't work because everybody sees that one, right? So what we needed was we needed a variable that doesn't surface on the UI, okay, but it's there. Okay, so we needed to work with the development team and figure out what is that one variable, right? Again, you can right click and go through. You can use the inspect element and go and figure it out, or you can work with your product team and they can give you that information. Again, those are for the outlier situations where it's a little bit more complex than the rest, and I'm guessing it maybe about 5 to 6% of the solutions we create, and for about 95% of the solutions we don't really need to go there.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, we do have. So how does this deployment work is the next question.
So deployment is how we have it here at Zenoti is we have a test environment and we have a production environment, right? So first of all, what we need to do is there is a bit of code that needs to be injected to make Walkme part of your application. Okay, that's a one-time thing. And once you've done it, Walkme is available all through your application. Okay, and coming to actually deploying the solutions that you built, okay, you can publish, so it allows you to publish both to the test environment separately and to the production environment separately. So typically what we would do is after we've created something, we publish it out to the test environment, and once it's working there, we publish it, and it's all one-click publishing to the production environment.
So Vinay, Ashish here. So you spoke something about test environment and public environment. Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So just wanted to check with you, like as a writer, do I have to give something, that my Walkme code should go in this part of code or something with the code or base code, or do I have to go through the developer, or how does it
No.
like? Yeah.
No. So your Walkme does not interact with your code per se, right? Walkme interacts with the UI element on the screen.
Okay. Okay.
So all you're doing is you're pointing to an UI element. Walkme will identify that UI element either by the text or its location. That's how Walkme will identify it. And once that UI element is there, then the walkthrough or the whatever Walkme solution you're applying there starts to work because that element is now available there.
And one more question that I had was like, what if I am, changing my screens? Like I am jumping from one part of the screen to we are not in linear, and suppose I'm having 1, 2, 3 screen, and from first screen I have to jump to third screen, bypassing the second screen. There is one such case. So how do we handle that in this
Again,
kind of?
so I'm assuming that what you want to do is you want to create a walkthrough that will
Yeah.
show a user how to complete a task where they need to start the task on page 1 and then they
Yes.
need to jump to page 3,
Correct.
right?
Without
Uh,
yes.
and Walkme supports that. So we do that quite a bit, especially when we have, let's say, a new feature which requires them to go across 3 or 4 screens. Walkme will carry over across those 3 or 4 screens. So it will take the entire process.
Okay, and so everything is documented in Walkme guide, so we can use that, right? And any
Yes.
name, any feature name or any this thing that I can search for this dynamic, navigation or something like
So I mean, it's a P0 scenario actually.
that. Okay,
When you start creating walkthroughs, you can just do it. There is nothing that needs to be specifically enabled to be able to do multi-page navigation.
okay, fine. Thanks.
Yeah.
So we have one more question from Syed. He says, do you create help articles and then walkthroughs for all features, or is there a criteria what goes where?
Yeah, so we don't do it for all features. So there are two things that basically limit us. One is how complex is a feature, right? I mean, if it's not a very complex feature and it's something that somebody just has to click and complete, we don't really need a Walkme or a walkthrough for that. So that's one limitation. So we only deploy a Walkme for complex scenarios or something that requires 4 or 5 steps to complete. And the other thing is there is a limitation that on a particular page you can have only one walkthrough. So if you have multiple features there, you would want to kind of like think about whether you want to put all those features as one walkthrough, or which of those processes is the most important, or creating the most number of support tickets, which will then decide which is the walkthrough that you're going to deploy on that particular page. So the limit is to one walkthrough on one particular page. That is a limitation that Walkme has.
Um, Hey Vinay,
Yeah.
Sagar here. Great
Hi, Sagar.
presentation. Maybe the limitation you're talking about is the autoplay. But if if
Yes,
it has to be manually launched, you can have
as many as you want. Yes.
the sky is the limit. The number
Yeah.
of walkthroughs that you want to have on a page.
And for those of y'all who don't know, Sagar is my boss.
Okay, so the next question that we have is, does Walkme support desktop application as seamlessly as it does for web application?
Uh, I don't know. I have not tried it on desktop. Sagar, do you want to take that one?
Sorry.
Desktop applications. Does Walkme support desktop as seamlessly as it supports web applications?
Yes, it does. It does support desktop applications, but there is a lot of more work involved when compared to a SaaS product. So, what needs to happen is that the WalkMe file should be part of the build, and then you could create your WalkMe solutions. But yes, they do support the on-premise software too, but it doesn't taken off as a SaaS solution. Does that answer it?
I think yes, it answers the question. We'll then move on to the next question, which is from Richa. She asks, so does it reduces the documentation work for product collaterals, like creating in-house testing documentation and app docs, etc.?
Uh, so it doesn't reduce the amount of documentation you create. Okay, all it does is it gives you one more avenue through which you can communicate with your customers. Okay, so you don't replace existing documentation with walkthrough. All you do is you are basically making it easier for your customer to get the help through one more avenue. So, does it reduce documentation? In my experience, no, it doesn't. Okay, but does it increase or improve customer satisfaction and usability of the product? Yes, it does.
Okay. Then next we have is, do we need to install walkthrough in the destination application or software?
Yeah, so like I said, so it is on your product, right? So you own that bit of code, and there is one line of JavaScript that you need to add that your development team will do. And once that has been injected into your application, then it is available throughout the application. You can then create a walkthrough or any WalkMe solution for any of the pages in your application. I
That
guess
sounds
that is
good.
what she was asking about.
Yes, yes, even I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then next question is, does it support novice users where we need to provide lots of background information for each page?
Yeah. So I mean, background information. That's an interesting thing, right? I mean, do you want to put background information so on a screen where they are actually trying to get some activity done, right? So my experience always has been that when a user is on a particular screen, what they want is they want to know how to actually complete that task. They don't want to know the whole gyan that goes behind this. Why they are doing it and why they are doing it in this particular way. So is it a good solution to give them background knowledge? You could use the tooltip feature if you want to describe various parts of the UI. Yeah, it could be used that way, but uh, my experience has been that basically what it does is it allows you to tell the user exactly how to complete the task, rather than give them all the information that would basically give them a PhD in that particular activity. Anything else, Amrita?
Um, uh, I don't think so. I don't see any other questions. Have I missed out on any questions? Uh, no,
Yes,
I think so.
there
We
are a
covered it.
couple of.
Yeah, okay.
I think
Please
there
go
were
on.
couple. I think one or two questions were there. Is that
So one
correct?
question from my side is like, how does it handle translation, like to very different languages or something? Does it have that feature of translation or something?
I haven't actually explored that part of it. We haven't yet started translating on the content on Walkme. I could get back to you if you can reach out to me separately. I can get back to you once I check on that and see whether it supports translation.
Sure, Vinay. Thanks a lot for this.
Yeah.
And I think with that, we are done with the questions. Yeah.
So yeah, part of this deck, I've also given my contact information. So if y'all want to reach out to me for anything, please do reach out. I'd be more than happy to answer your question. And we are always looking for good and great writers. In fact, we have a few positions open now. So if you are looking to work with an exciting team, please do reach out to me again, and we can take that conversation further too. All right, just a little